Hi, so we're moving on to Rome. And as you move on to Rome, you're going to see readings from Juvenal Satire 3. That satire, often called the satire against Rome, because it is very critical of what Rome has become in the 1st century, in 2nd century AD. Juvenal is complaining a lot about the cultural identity of the Romans, how somehow it's been lost. The good old-fashioned virtues of the Romans have been lost. So in this little video that we're looking at, we're going to take a look at the foundation stories of Rome and how they relate to Roman ideas about honor. Those foundation stories oftentimes are wrapped up in violence as well, and that gets us to our next topic of discussion for Rome, and that's the gladiator games. How is it that these rituals, these entertainments associated with fights to the death in a public arena can somehow tell us about the Romans and who they are and what they value in society? So as we move forward, this video talks a little bit about the foundation stories of Rome, their desire to emphasize honor, courage, and in the process, oftentimes, violence. Violence not only against outsiders, violence against the other, some would say, but also violence against themselves. We'll see fratricide. We'll see violence against women. And all the while, these stories maintain that there's a certain amount of honor to be defended, to be upheld through this violence. So that's where we're headed.
So as we've been saying, the foundation stories of Rome emphasize courage, honor, duty and discipline, family, and military might. Certainly there are other themes that one can find in the stories that the Romans told about themselves. Where did they come from? How did they begin? But these particular ideas, courage, honor, duty, discipline, family, military might, seem to fit in well with the things that we're reading for this class. This image is from Trajan's Column. There's a terrific work of art in the Roman Forum that shows the military at its best, the military at work. And there are just hundreds of scenes, hundreds of images indicating the army. Here you have a cavalryman tending to a horse, two soldiers talking to each other, the shields here in front of them. So again, lots of military images in Roman art. Another scene from that famous column, and here you have soldiers cutting down trees, maybe using that wood in order to build siege towers, siege engines, ladders to scale a wall that's back here. You see the brick wall. And this image here, just a typical Roman soldier, kitted out, ready for deployment. For the Romans, life was harsh. Life was brutish. The foundation stories indicate that the Romans were always concerned about war, always concerned about defending themselves. We have this understanding that when they talk about the boundaries of the city of Rome, that the boundaries are somehow sacred, and that within those boundaries for the city, one could find order, one could find civility. We deal with each other in a kind way, a peaceful way. One finds peace inside the city, within those sacred boundaries. Outside those boundaries, there's chaos. Outside those boundaries, barbarism, the enemy, warfare. So the Romans, all of their stories really talk about how inside the city we have order, we have calm, we have peace, we are civil to one another. Outside, very difficult, very violent, very chaotic. This is a 17th century image of a great Roman story by Charles Le Brun. It is a story of Horatius. Horatius is defending one of the bridges going into the city of Rome, and here he is fighting. This bridge is looking very precarious, as you can see, and here he is fighting away, defending, when other Romans had left their posts when other Romans had decided that the fight was too harsh, too difficult. Horatius held that bridge, even though he was not one of the most famous officers in the Roman legions, even though he was not one of the most powerful political leaders, because he was a good soldier, he was a good defender, he held out against hope, and was very important for the Romans to be successful in the long run. You have an image of victory coming to put a wreath on his head, even as he is fighting. I mentioned that there are stories about violence against women, and the foundation stories of Rome all feature this in some fashion. You may know the story of Rhea Silva and the god Mars. Rhea Silva, who was to be who was the daughter, the mythical daughter of one of the kings of Rome, a king who was valued as wise. Well, that king, his name is Numitor, his brother, Amulius, overthrows him and forces Rhea Silva to become a priestess, a Vestal Virgin. That means, of course, that she, as a Vestal Virgin, must remain virginal or she suffers a terrible penalty. Therefore, Amulius's heirs will inherit the throne, not Numitor's. So Rhea Silva is supposed to remain virginal. She is supposed to serve the goddess Vesta, and again, a great honor for her family, a great honor to be sure, but it keeps her from producing children. Well, because the destiny of Mars, the destiny of Rome cannot be denied, the god Mars appears to Rhea and impregnates her. This is often called the rape of Rhea Silva. And so in this violent act, this violent sexual act, Rhea becomes pregnant and then gives birth to the twins Romulus and Remus, who will go on to found Rome themselves, Rome as a republic as opposed to Rome as a kingship. We also have the story of the Sabine women, the rape of the Sabine. When Romulus and Remus do indeed found Rome, they invite people to come in to create this new civilization, and they find that they only get men coming, men who have been kicked out of other cities, men who are on the run from crimes unknown. And Romulus, as the founder of Rome, realizes, oops, we're going to need to have families here. We need women. And he invites communities nearby to come and please allow us to have marriage alliances with you, but no one will ally with the Romans because these fellows are just rejects from all other places in Italy. So the Romans trick a neighboring group, the Sabines, to come in for a festival, a religious festival to Poseidon, Neptune in the Roman tradition, and on a signal, they steal the Sabine women who were there. Now, some of these women may be already married, they may already be mothers, but the Romans don't care. They're stealing these women. They want these women because they need to start families, they need to create a civilization. So, again, a theft of women. Again, the word rape in Latin means to steal, to take. And so the rape of the Sabine, also considered by the Romans to be honorable, justifiable, if you will, even, but still a violence committed against women. And then we have the story of Lucretia and Tarquinius Superbus. Again, another foundation story that, and the Romans had several, and not to be concerned, not to be confused, there are lots of different stories about how the Romans got their start. But that what they have in common is, again, violence, and oftentimes violence related to women. And in this case, we have the story of Lucretia, who is a good Roman wife, very faithful to her husband, a good housekeeper, a good manager of her household and the slaves who are there. So a large household, she manages it well, and she has great honor, and she's a wonderful hostess. And her husband, a man named Collatinus, is very proud of his wife. And when he brags to the then prince who is to take over Rome, this fellow named Tarquinius Superbus, and you should know that Superbus in this case is not a good adjective. It means overproud, overbearing. When he brags to this young prince that his wife is so grand, the young prince becomes jealous because his wife is not as grand as Lucretia, and he determines that he must have her himself. So he does indeed violate Lucretia's home, demands hospitality of her, and then sort of tricks her and convinces her that if she does not allow him to sleep with her, that he will make her husband's honor suffer. He threatens, he says, I will have you, open your bedroom to me. And she says, no, I would die first. And he says, fine, I'll kill you myself, and then I'll go out into the fields, I'll grab a slave, put him in bed with you, slit his throat too, and then when your husband comes home, he will see that you both were killed in the midst of the act, the terrible act of violating your marriage vows. Again, very violent, and I apologize if this is a violent story to sort of hear in one of these videos. But this eventually, Lucretia gives in to this terrible Tarquinius, and he leaves, and she calls her menfolk in, and she tells them, go out and get this man, get this terrible man who violated my husband's household, who violated me, and destroy the kingship that he represents. And they do. And her menfolk rally around the honor of this woman, Lucretia, and they kill the king. And we start again a new kind of government, because in all of these stories, Romulus and Remus, the Sabine women, Lucretia and Tarquinius, all of these stories, the idea here is that we are getting rid of overbearing government, wrong government, and replacing it with a kind of republic, a democratic republic, where honor is upheld and rightness and justice are upheld. And again, in all these cases, women are somehow involved. In the sarcophagus, which you can find in the Museum of Naples, the Archaeological Museum of Rome in Naples, you get the image of Mars here. This is Mars himself. You can see he has a gladius, he has a great staff. He is striding towards Rhea Silva, and in this image, Romulus and Remus are about to be conceived. Yeah? In this image, you get the twins, Romulus and Remus. One of the stories of their young lives are that when their evil uncle finds out that Rhea has indeed given birth, he kills her because she's violated her vows as a Vestal Virgin, and then he wants these children to be killed as well. Well, he won't do it himself because he's heard that Mars is their father, and he doesn't want to somehow incur the wrath of Mars. So he gets a henchman. Reminds me of Snow White stories, right? He gets a henchman to go and do evil to the kids and kill these children. They're terrible. I want them gone. And the henchman's heard the stories too about Mars, and so he refuses to kill them, and instead he sort of abandons them along the Tiber River. And a she-wolf comes along, and as if you've been in my classes before, you know that it's very unnatural for a she-wolf to want to feed children. In fact, a she-wolf would probably prefer to eat the children herself. But this is a miraculous story. This is an amazing story. And so she cares for them until a human comes along, a shepherd, who rescues them from the wolf and takes them home and raises them himself. So this iconic image of Romulus and Remus being fed by a wolf. Absolutely in keeping with the identity of Rome. This is a late 18th century painting by Jacques-Louis David, and it is related to the rape of the Sabines. Well, the other story, the rest of that story of the rape of the Sabines is that the Romans stole the Sabine women, took them home, married them, and in the meantime, the Sabines decided, well, hey, we can't put up with this. We're going to go get our women back. And so the Sabines here attack Rome to recover their women. And the image you have here is of this one Sabine woman who is standing between her Sabine family over here and now her Roman family. And you can even see children down here, all kinds of little babies down here, saying, please, men, don't fight. We are now joined to our Roman husbands, and we have these beautiful children, and they're just everywhere. You see them everywhere. Oh, poor babies. They're just everywhere, and so please stop fighting. We are reconciled. We will stay with our Roman husbands. We love them, and we love our babies. So it's a very romantic idea about rape. It's a very romantic idea about violence, which, again, from our perspective, very twisted, very unacceptable. But in the Roman tradition, this idea of somehow of a woman's virtue and the theft of that being honorable really creeps into the zeitgeist, the worldview of the Romans. This image is of the rape of Lucretia, and the man coming toward her is Tarquinius Superbus, so he is a bad man. You even see these little cherubs here trying to get in between, like, no, no, go away. So you get Lucretia lying here being very sort of a romantic looking figure, and this fellow coming in and again to do violence to her. This is Peter Paul Rubens, so a Dutch image. Again, these more modern images of these Roman stories show the great effect they have on the Western mind. Not only were they important for the Romans, that they have come to be more and more a part of world culture as a whole. And then finally, the statue, an image of Lucretia with her cousin Brutus. Brutus, one of the menfolk whom she called in to go and avenge her honor. And the rest of the story of Lucretia is that when the men come in and she tells them what's happened, they respond to her and they say, okay, Lucretia, we will go get this guy, but remember, you did nothing wrong. There was nothing wrong in your behavior. You are a victim here. You refused his advances. You did not dishonor your husband. And they're telling her this and they're pleading with her because they worry that what she's going to do, because of this terrible dishonor to her husband, that she will do herself some harm. And so they say to her, you had no intent. There is no sin in you. You are innocent. She refuses to accept that. And you see Brutus here looking upon a dagger. She kills herself to be an example to all Roman women that the honor of your husband and your family is so important that it is better to die than to live with this disgrace, if you will, because people will always talk. There will always be people, she says, who will think that I was a bad wife. So better to die and be an example than to be the object of gossip. Again, a very twisted moral to the story. And again, I apologize if this subject matter is difficult. But for the Romans, this idea of a woman's honor and the foundation of the city and the violence perpetrated against the woman, but also perpetrated on her behalf, somehow really reverberates throughout the Roman ideology. So, as we move into these ideas of gladiator games, which are so difficult also for us to, I hope they're difficult for us to comprehend today, from the Roman perspective, life is dangerous. The world is a brutish place. The Romans claimed domination of their known world, through military might. You know that they started off as a city-state in Italy. They came to conquer all of Italy, and then they moved into both the Western Mediterranean and the Eastern Mediterranean, and within several centuries control an extraordinary empire. This domination for them ensures order, it ensures peace for Romans, right? It doesn't ensure subjugation for others. The gladiator games put all of these ideas on display as entertainment, these ideas of order, these ideas of domination of the world. You'll see that exotic animals are brought into the arena to be put on display. You'll see mock combats where we are fighting old battles. We're putting on almost a play, fighting an old battle, right? And so that people can say, oh yes, that's our Roman military might. That's yes, it's violent, but that's who we are, and that's how we came to control the world, and that's how we came to have peace and order within our own city. So the gladiator games, putting on all these ideas on display as entertainment, to not only remind the Romans of who they are, but to remind them of who they should be as regards honor, duty, discipline, courage. And yes, it involves a lot of violence.